At this point, many of you are familiar with this scene.
The governor is signing a bill that affects all Georgians. Why is he doing it in private, and why is he trying to keep elected officials who are representing us out of the process?
Exactly. Are you serious?
No, you are not.
No. She's not under arrest.
For what? Under arrest for what? For trying to see something that our governor is doing? Our governor is signing a bill that affects all Georgians, and you're going to arrest an elected representative. Why are you arresting her? Tell us now.
That was a state representative being yanked away and arrested and charged with a felony for knocking on the door with a governor, Kemp, in Georgia, was doing the worst photo op in the last 100 years, surrounded by a few more white guys rolling back all the voting rights for Georgians. And so this is what's going on across the nation because they've given up on democracy. Now, normally they give up on democracy, and we're used to all the voter suppression efforts in the name of fraud, purging the rolls, getting rid of felons, which means you're going to be charged with a felony for things that you either should have been arrested for or could have been a misdemeanor, but for the purpose, because the way the amendment is written, slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist in the United States except for punishment for a crime. So they use that as a loophole to create slavery. And so you're going to get a felony. And so between that, the long lines, the polling stations, the days and the limits, all of those efforts failed. And so instead of saying, hey, well, maybe we need to change our message or broaden the tent or reach out to more people, they're looking to shrink the pool of voters and try to make it difficult for certain voters to have access. Every bit of it, every way they can to create additional difficulties and strains rather than trying to expand the franchise. Hell, you never know. Maybe if you expanded it enough, disabled Republicans or elderly Republicans or other people might be able to vote. Maybe you won the election. Who knows? But you're so busy assuming that smaller is better, negative is better, that you're doing something right when you don't know that to be the case. And if that many people, if the majority of Americans are against Trumpism or against all this radical clock rolling back-ism, then maybe you're just on the wrong side of history. Just like everybody else who's tried to do this 100 years ago, 200 years ago, it never works because it's wrong. And it doesn't matter what you think you will do about it, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. You don't have enough guns to enforce it. You don't have enough people to enforce it. You don't have anything. All you're going to do is piss people off because whatever you think you're going to do, everybody else can do. However mad you might get, everybody else can get that mad. If last summer didn't begin to teach you that all you can do is up the ante, and then there's a 2-to-1 ratio of people that can act just as much a fool as you can burn the cities down, can storm the state houses, can run around with playing G.I. Joe and vest and guns. Everybody can do that, bro. Ain't nothing special about you making up for your sexual inadequacies with an AR-15. It's nothing special about you. Everybody can go get one. So whatever you think you're going to do to impose this on someone, how is it supposed to work? How is it supposed to work? You already done tipped your hand by putting in the rules about refreshments and everything else. So you're already saying, oh, there's going to be lines that are 8 to 10 hours long. And we're going to have the police out watching to make sure nobody gets any refreshments while they stand out in line. Should be shortening the line. There shouldn't be any reason for any refreshments because people might be able to get the refreshments in the polling station. Go in, grab a bottle of water, get a drink, whatever else, punch the ballot and get the hell out. You should be coming up with future technologies. Maybe somebody come in, put in their thumbprint. That's me, good to go. Hey, here's my choices. Get the hell on. But you're not doing that. Because you know most people don't want what you're selling. And instead of broadening the tent, instead of having a better messaging, instead of being more inclusive, you're trying all these third world tactics that no one is going to let stand. Only dumb thing you've done is all you and these other ignorant bigots like DeSantis and these other states have run out and done is started to do it already. Joe Biden ain't been in the White House 90 days and you're already doing it. I guess we just did the first 60 here so far. So all you done did was tipped your hand and everybody's getting ready to get ready for 22. That's all the left is talking about. They already on the bullshit. So what's the response? The response is a federal answer. The response is federal troops standing at the polling stations. The response is federal ballot boxes. The response is the Postmaster General under Biden puts in extra deposit boxes. Well, I don't want to be run by Washington. Yeah, and I want to be run by Tallahassee, and somebody else doesn't want to be run by Albany, and somebody else doesn't want to be run. Too bad. We got a governor here think he has his own little fiefdom doing his own shit, DeSantis in Florida. But hey, many of the cities and counties don't want to follow his lead. We're not going to be told by Washington, and we're not going to be told by Tallahassee. We don't need some bureaucrat, and I don't need some bureaucrat. We can all not need some bureaucrat at the state or federal level. But all of this, we're going to violate the Constitution. We're going to break all the rules. The right to vote is a fundamental right in a democracy. If you guys have given up on a democracy, as you normally do, just like in the civil rights movement, just like in the Civil War, you keep giving up on America, keep giving up on democracy, then what do all you patriots say? Love it or leave it? Well, bye, because apparently you don't love it anymore. So when you leave it? Because we're not going to change it so we can get back to the 1800s. So if we don't want to go along with what you're doing, I guess you're getting ready to leave. Oh, you're not leaving. Because your ancestors didn't build you nothing as good as my ancestors built you. But you're in the house that Black built. So I double dog dare you to go to where your ancestors built and leave where my ancestors built. I know you ain't going nowhere. You ain't got no fucking where to go. What you need to do is get with the program. This is a democracy. And the reason it's a democracy is for your sake. The reason it's not a Christian nation is for Christians. Because we may not always be the majority. And if this country becomes majority Muslim, atheist, whatever, we want our rights as Christians protected. And your grandchildren will be grateful if we do not follow your lead as 30, 40, 50 years go by and this country's demographics completely shift. And all this gerrymandering, all these sleight of hands, and these state houses are black or brown or left, socialist, progressive. And they completely write a bunch of rules to X your descendants out of the process. You will be glad that the type of shit y'all trying to pull right now did not become the way it is. Because otherwise the left is just going to wait their turn. Just like you went crazy under Trump. And now the Senate, House, and the White House are Democratic. What do you think is going to happen with Georgia? What do you think is going to happen to Florida ultimately? Or Texas, or any of these other knucklehead states? You're going to be glad we didn't listen to you. You may not live to see it. I may not live to see it. But you're going to be glad that democracy won. Because you never think ahead. You're so immoral. You're so evil that you can't think for your own benefit. If you change these rules, they will be changed. And you will not always be the one in line to change them. You turn the governor into an autocrat in Georgia, what does that look like 60 years from now? You want to rule with an iron fist from Tallahassee? What does that look for the next progressive socialist candidate that gets in there? So do the right thing. Focus. There's no amount of threatening. There's no amount of damage. Nobody's worried about it. You know what there was a law against? Storming the State House in Michigan. Threatening to kill the governor. There's laws against insurrections. But you know what? That didn't stop anybody from doing it. And you creating a law against having water in line? It's just putting police unnecessarily in harm's way as they try to enforce that bullshit. It's just going to put you in conflict with the federal troops like they had to do 50, 60 years ago to march black students into the schools. They're going to have to march black citizens to the polling stations. The federal government is going to have to step in because you don't know how to act. You think these states are your little racist fiefdoms, and they're not. The state has to work for everybody. This government has to work for everybody. And what you need to do is start trying to find a way to get along with everybody. We don't have to agree with everything comes out of the other person's mouth. We just have to have mutual respect. And you guys have lost that, thinking you're going to get all the marbles. But you're tipping your hands because now we see how you would act if you have all the power. While the left, the Democrats are all, okay, well, you know, we want to make sure everybody feels okay. We want to make sure we're unified. And then when you get in there, fuck all of them. We're just going to stamp them all out. Hey, that's not going to work, bro. It's not. You don't have that kind of power. You have the power to turn this into a conflict that you don't want. Because 76 million Americans is not more than 82 million Americans. Whatever conflict you start, you're going to be outnumbered by people that's as brutal and crazy as you are. So all I can say is knock yourself out if that's what you think you want. But I suggest you think about your descendants and that this world and this country are going to continue to change. And you fighting the change is not helping anyone. You're just going to like one of those idiots standing in front of a school 60 years ago trying to block black students from coming in. What did change? Nothing. Fighting a civil war. What did change? Humiliating your ancestors in a fight they lost? You just keep picking losing battles. It is idiotic and childish to keep picking losing battles for immoral and evil reasons. You can't be a patriot and a racist at the same time. They divorced in the 1860s. They completely divorced once the racists decided being racist was more important than being American and dealing with the Constitution. Once they seceded and decided we're somebody else, if we can't be racist and we choose that over being American and went to war and started killing Americans, you can't be both ever again. And so you are in a war with patriots. You are in a war with America. You are fighting against the Constitution and America. And you're the villain of this story. So listen to this plea from your descendants to not put this nonsense in place. Because your descendants are pleading with me right now not to let you do what you're doing. Because The shoe can definitely be on the other foot. You're not going to be in charge of these state houses from now on. No matter what it takes. Whether it takes new rules from the top and a Democratic president, whether it takes martial law, whether it takes whatever else, these state houses are going to get restructured. Because you can't do it right. You can't handle the power. So, just like your ancestors should have done you a favor and they didn't, do your descendants a favor. Become part of the future. Roll the clock forward instead of being frustrated and aggravated that you can't roll it back.